What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Magali if you're new here. This video, I'm going to get into the most uncomfortable truths about achieving your fitness goals, pursuing the fitness journey, and just getting into this whole world. People love to talk about the positives about it, and there's tons and tons, and trust me, the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. As with anything, transparency is number one, and you gotta know what you're getting yourself into, and sometimes it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We're just gonna get into the uncomfortable truths about fitness and achieving your fitness goals that nobody wants to talk about. The level of personal responsibility that you have to undertake is extremely uncomfortable. When it comes to dieting and fitness and building muscle and basically anything you can think of, you have to be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and basically accept full responsibility for where you are right now. And I just want to preface this by saying there are things that get in the way. Diseases, stressful situations, traumatic losses. I mean, life is full of a bunch of crap from all sorts of places, but at the end of the day, if you're choosing to pursue this fitness journey, you have to start with accepting full responsibility of your current situation and what you choose to do next. This isn't easy, and it is especially difficult when things happen to you. Like, all of these things you didn't choose, you didn't go out and ask for them, but unfortunately that happened. But at the end of the day, when we get started on something like this, you have to accept fully, like, maybe you gained 50 pounds, maybe you've lost a ton of weight, maybe you lost all your progress. We did make those choices, and therefore we are responsible for where we are now. That's not a pretty feeling to look in the mirror and basically be like, you can't really blame anybody but yourself. You can't really say it was their fault, or it was this, or it was that. If you want to change, if you just want to stay the same, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to make a difference, if you want to make change happen, it has to come from you. And sometimes that feels uncomfortable to acknowledge the fact that you and your choices brought you here today. And you and your choices will only be able to take you there, not someone else's. This is me not saying invalidate your feelings. What you've been through doesn't matter. Suck it up. I feel like most of the times it's harmful and it backfires because it makes you feel like, oh shit, well, I'm just making this up in my head. I'm just, being weak. I'm just, being a loser. And always it's important to validate how you feel, but you can't allow that to get in the way of you choosing responsibility. Like, this happened to me. I didn't have a choice in this. It is what it is. But now I am choosing to do something different. And accepting that responsibility is really hard, and it's not something that a lot of people like to do, and which is why most people, unfortunately, don't even take the first step, because it requires you to be brutally honest, like, what got me here? What did I do to put me in this situation? And therefore taking responsibility is a huge thing. I don't mean this to say make yourself feel bad and bully yourself and all of these things. It's more so just to give you the awareness that you have to take the responsibility if you want anything to change. Pursuing a fitness goal and embarking on a health journey is going to test your patience like nothing else. And it requires an uncomfortable level of patience, because you're not going to see the physical result right away. You just won't. Now, there are some ways to speed it up and shortcut things. They most likely don't work long term. If you do this the right way, if you're consistent, if you show up every day and you put in the work, it's going to take time. And I'm not talking about 3 months, 6 months maybe. I would even say 8 months minimum to see a visible change. A lot of people don't like to hear that, and it's not a sexy thing to sell, to say you have to put in the work consistently day in and day out for 8 months before you see the result that you're looking for. Maybe even longer. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be told that they have to be patient. Like, I don't want to be patient. But the reality is, to make changes in your body, to see the physical results, it takes time. And unfortunately, it takes sometimes longer than you expect it to happen. If you're 6 months in and you're not getting anywhere, and in fact, maybe you're going backwards and you're like, oh shit, it's been 6 months, might as well give up now, you are just this close to making it. That is normal. It is normal to feel impatient. It is normal to feel antsy, like, oh my god, why am I not getting it? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I mean, think about it. It probably took you months, if not years, to get 50 pounds overweight, to lose all your progress. It probably took a couple months. It takes time to go backwards, and it doesn't happen because you ate one piece of pizza overnight. It doesn't happen that fast. And then the opposite is true. To see a significant improvement, to see a lot of change, it's gonna take a long time, probably longer than you think. If you're gonna embark on this journey, you need to know that you have to play the long game. You have to be super patient. You have to understand that even if it feels like you're doing everything right in that moment, you might not see the exact result you want. But that doesn't always mean you're failing. It's part of the process. It's an up and down roller coaster. It changes all the time, but the important thing is that consistency and that effort, which will require a ton of patience, because we want to see things fast and in the moment, which won't happen. So lots of patience is required, and it's not a good feeling to see yourself working really hard and not getting that result, but that's part of the process too. And this is going to be one that I wish I knew in the beginning. When you achieve that goal, like let's say you want to lose 50 pounds, or you want to be skinny and you want to be lean and you want to fit into a pants size 4, you might reach that goal and still be disappointed and still not feel confident. I got lean. I'll put a picture up here. And at that time, I felt great. I'm not gonna lie, it was awesome. It was great to see myself in that condition. I was super proud of myself, but it didn't solve the issue of me feeling not confident and not loving myself. It wasn't like, oh, bam, I love myself, everything's great. Like, it doesn't happen that way. And that's why a lot of people propose, like, and myself included, is work on your mental health, work on other pieces of your life as well. Don't just think that achieving a certain body is going to give you the happiness and the self-love and self-confidence you've always wanted. It's not going to happen that way. And we place so much value on that physical goal that we ignore everything else. And when we achieve that goal, we're like, why does it feel empty? Why does it feel not as exciting as I thought it would? And that's what happened to me. I just want to make it very clear for my girls out there, guys too, this happens to guys as well, that once you achieve that physical goal, leanness, losing weight, whatever it may be, it may not give you the sense of fulfillment you thought it was. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try and go for it if that's a goal of yours. 100% fine. But also know that you shouldn't be placing all of your value in that one thing, because it doesn't fulfill you. It doesn't automatically give you happiness in the way that you might think it does. And I've been there. So I'm telling you, it doesn't work. If you have underlying issues of self-confidence, body image, there's a lot more work that has to be done. It's not just achieving a pretty body and that just automatically solves your problems. You might be disappointed when you achieve your goal, and that's normal. And that's why we have to have other goals as well. You will piss off some people. You will not get support from people. You will bring out insecurities of other people, and they will criticize what you're doing. Even the people you love the most, even your husband, even your wife, even your mom, your sister, your brother, your dad, your coworkers, your best friends, they might not support you. They might not think that what you're doing is right. They might spill out all their opinions out onto you. Even though you know what you're doing is good for you, they might not agree, and they will be vocal about it. And it can be really hard. It can be really hard when you're so excited about a goal, when you're so immersed in it and you're so ready to make a change, and then maybe you share that with your family or friends, or they see you doing it and they just sit there and criticize you. Oh, why are you eating so much? Why are you eating so little? Why are you gaining weight? Why are you losing weight? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And they will have a plethora of opinions thrown at you, and sometimes they're not supportive, sometimes they're not encouraging, and that doesn't mean you give up. It's just going to make it more difficult. But the reality is, this does happen. It happened to me. It happened with my family, with people that were really close to me, and sometimes it is what it is. Now you can choose to put up with it, you can choose to put boundaries and separate yourself from those people. Maybe it's not possible, so just kind of have conversations with them. There's ways to navigate this. It's not like the end of the world if this happens to you, but it might happen. It's not a good feeling to have people you love and value their opinions of to basically say like what you're doing is dumb. So just know that when you embark on this journey, you will bring out the insecurities of other people, because that's what they are. They are projecting their insecurities onto you. They're seeing you work, they're seeing you do things that they are not willing to do. So instead of doing the things, they want to bring you down to their level so that they don't feel so bad about themselves anymore. And that's not a good way to live, but unfortunately that's what people do. Understand that it may happen. It doesn't mean that it's time for you to give up. It doesn't mean that you have to stop what you're doing and listen to them. It might mean that you have to put up some boundaries or have some tough conversations with the people you love. People might not support you, even the people you love the most. Basically, to achieve anything rewarding in life, you got to be okay with delayed gratification, which means giving up instant pleasures, instant temptations for long-term fulfillment, long-term happiness. When we're talking about fitness and health and this whole journey, there are going to be a lot of moments in your life that you have to sacrifice things in the moment to achieve that goal that you have. We can have it all. We can have a great body, we can have a great life, we can have a great social life, a great financial life, a great work life, a great relationship, but we can't have everything at the same time. Sometimes you have to balance different things, and some things inevitably will sacrifice and others might have to get a little more priority. For instance, you might have to skip out on dinner because your friends drink a lot and they eat a lot and they really have they're not pursuing their health and fitness goals, or maybe they don't provide an environment that's supportive. Not that they're bad people, not that they're mean, they're not in the same game with you. And that might mean that you might have to skip out on a birthday lunch or going to a friend's birthday party, going out to the club Saturday night. You might have to cut out things in the moment that really don't feel good. Nobody wants to say no to hanging out with their loved ones. Nobody wants to skip out on fun dinners and fun lunches and fun activities. Like, nobody wants to feel restricted and like, oh my god, I can't live my life because I'm on this health and fitness journey. But sometimes it is going to happen. Sometimes you're going to have to go to bed hungry because you ran out of your calories. You have to stay on track today, and that's okay. That's part of the process. And I think that whole conversation has been not talked about as often because the popular thing to say right now is intuitively eat and just follow your intuition and what you feel. And while there's truth to that and that is important, I think the main thing that we need to discuss is sometimes you gotta ignore what you want right now, because that's not what's going to benefit you long term. An alcoholic who's trying to get better may really want to drink, but do you think that drink serves them in the future? No, that's something that's going to make their recovery harder. For someone who's very overweight and wants to lose weight and it's really difficult for them, and they have friends who go party every weekend and eat like crazy amounts and drink a lot, do you think going out with those friends every single weekend is good for their long-term health? No, because it's getting in the way of achieving that goal. And sometimes you're going to have to make sacrifices that don't feel good, that aren't fun. That might make family members like bitter, like, oh, you're that person now that skips out on lunches and doesn't, is obsessed with the gym. Like, I've gotten that comment so many times, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do that. That sometimes means that you gotta weigh out what's the most important thing for me right now. Having a fun night out with my friends, and sometimes that may be the answer because you've been so restrictive and you need to have some fun, then yes. But the majority of the times people are doing the partying and the over drinking and the overeating way too much and not staying on track, and they need more of the consistency, more of the structure, more of the routine of things, and that does not always feel fun, and that's okay. And that's normal, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You're going to have to experience a lot of delayed gratification. You're going to have to make sacrifices. A lot of the time they're not going to feel great. No matter how hard you search, no matter how many times you try to find it, there is no one perfect anything. Diet, exercise, workout regimen. There is no one size fits all for anybody. And anyone who tells you otherwise is full of shit and doesn't know what they're talking about. And why patience is so important and personal responsibility, those come into play, especially with this point that you're going to have to be okay with a lot of trial and error. And a lot of experimentation. Like, you're not just going to get it right away. Some people do, and they are the minority. They are the 1% of these people. For me, it took a long, long time for me to find my groove and for me to find what works for me. One, because I was stubborn and didn't hire a coach. Now that I'm a coach, I see that I should have done that, and that would have put me further along, but I didn't. It also just took me time. Like, I was just not in a place where I was super educated, I was super motivated, I was super consistent, I was kind of all over the place. Sometimes I was expecting to just figure it out and just find the answer, and that doesn't happen. When you go to embark on this journey and you're trying to find answers, don't get so caught up in the research that you get so overwhelmed by the information that you don't even know what to do. Like, there's so many ways to go about things that you get so overwhelmed because there isn't one exact pathway to follow. And that's never going to change. Your path is unique to you, and you're going to refine it and tune it as you go. And as you progress in your journey, as you do it longer, you're going to eliminate things that don't work and get narrowed in on the things that do. And that's going to look different for everybody. It takes time because your body is different than anybody else's. It's going to respond differently. You're going to have different preferences. You're going to have different genetics, all these different factors. That's one of my beefs with social media, is it's so easy to portray before and after. This is what we did. Here, do the same thing to millions of people. But those millions of people, maybe 20% of them will respond the same way this client did, and the other 80 will be like, what the hell, like, I'm a failure, I'm broken, oh my god. But it's not that you're broken, you're just following the wrong system for you. And sometimes that is going to require a lot of experimentation, a lot of failing at things and realizing, oh, that didn't work, let me try something else. If you feel that way right now and you're feeling discouraged and you're feeling like, oh my god, I'm never going to figure it out, know that that's normal. Again, we're also different, and sometimes you don't know if something works or not unless you actually give it a fair shot and try it for a while. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants a simple, quick answer, and I feel you. I'm the same way. I wish there was a simpler way to, you know how much more money I would make if I had a secret and like a one-size-fits-all program that I can just give to everybody? I'd be a billionaire at this point, but that doesn't exist, which is why I don't have it. You're going to feel frustrated sometimes. You're going to feel impatient. You're going to feel confused and overwhelmed, and all of that is normal. And that is basically you going through the growing pains of figuring yourself out and figuring out what is your perfect blend of workouts and nutrition plans and all of these things. And it takes time, and it's not a simple answer, and I wish I could give that to you, but I can't. It's uncomfortable to know that. It's really sucky sometimes not knowing what the answer is and having to keep going but not really knowing if you're doing the right thing. But again, that is where that patience comes in and why it's so important. You're going to be different than everybody else. There is no one size fits all. There is no one answer, and you have to be okay with taking the time to figure out what that is for you. There is way more misinformation than there is correct information on the internet, especially social media. Please do not get your nutrition advice from someone who has a specific diet in their bio. When you're searching stuff, when you're doing research, when you're trying to figure these things out, and I know this is why it gets so freaking complicated, is that on one hand I'm telling you, you got to do your research because different things work for different people, and there's a lot of different options, and you got to trial and error it kind of thing. And then I go on to tell you that most of what you see online is BS. Well, it's like, what am I supposed to do here? Again, there's no simple answer. You have to just kind of take each post, take each article and dissect it, read it, and see what are the things that I actually agree with, what are the things that, feel good to me, feel right to me, feel like I can actually do, and what are the things that maybe are not for me. Maybe it's too restrictive, maybe it's too much work, maybe it's too difficult. Take what works and leave the rest. The uncomfortable truth is most of the stuff you read is BS. Sometimes it's not easy to spot. Sometimes it comes from people who are experts. Yeah, most of the information you read online will not be accurate. You're probably being less consistent than you think you are. A lot of the times people come to me and they're very frustrated. They're not getting the results they want. They feel like they've been trying so much and they've been researching and trying all these different things and nothing's working. Like, what's going on? And most times the problem isn't that the thing that you're doing isn't working or you're following the wrong program, which can happen like I discussed before, but the biggest problem is you're not being consistent enough. You're not doing it most days of the week. You probably do it once or twice a week and then think that's enough, and then go out and reward yourself by eating everything you want as your cheat day, or maybe you're working out, but you're not giving it your all. You're going in there with like a half-assed effort. You're not really doing anything that will help progress you. Or maybe you don't even know that you aren't doing that, but that's still what's happening. When we're getting discouraged, when we're feeling like nothing's happening, like why is this not working? Back to number one, you have to take full responsibility and ask yourself, am I being consistent at the minimum 80% of the time? Meaning 5 or 6 days out of the week, am I doing these things? Or is it just that one time and then I get impatient and just fall off? Am I giving my workouts 80% effort? Or am I just kind of following a BS workout every time I go, not really knowing what I'm doing? Am I sticking to my calorie goal 80% of the time? Or am I completely falling off the rails during the weekends and completely undoing everything I did the week before? Like, these are the kinds of questions that you have to be okay with asking yourself, because most of the time people are just not patient enough and they are not consistent enough, and they don't give themselves enough time to actually stick to this program to see the benefit come through. And they just kind of put their hands up and say, oh, well, it's not my fault, the program didn't work, so I guess I'm just going to give up and not try. Take a second and realize, okay, where am I not putting in the work that I need to be putting in? And sometimes that's not comfortable to acknowledge. It's not a good feeling to have to tell yourself, I know that I'm overeating every night because I'm super stressed about work. Oh, I know that I'm drinking way too much because I'm super stressed about my breakup. I know that I'm drinking way too many calories right now. Sometimes we gotta do that, and that's okay. But don't lie to yourself. Don't say that you're trying to change your life and you're trying to make improvements if you're not backing that up with your actions. If you need some time off and you need to just let yourself go for a few weeks, that's fine. But own that. say, I'm gonna take some time off, I know that I'm gonna lose progress, cool. But if you're actually wanting to change and you're actually wanting to see improvement, you gotta be honest with yourself and you gotta be consistent and you have to be on it most of the time if you expect any drastic result to come from that. The more drastic the change you want, the more lean you want to look, the more weight you want to lose, the more progress you want to make, that's going to require more work. And that just is what it is. It's a law of life. You can't escape it. Can't find a shortcut for that. It is what it is. So if you really want the results, you got to be consistent and you got to be honest to yourself about what it is that you're doing wrong and where you can make changes. You might have to work 5 times as hard as someone else to achieve the same result. And this can be for a million different reasons. Maybe you're a mom and you're incredibly busy. Maybe you're struggling with a really hard and really debilitating condition or disease. Maybe you're working 3 jobs right now because you need to pay the rent, and maybe you might not be able to go to the gym 20 times a week like some other people will. Maybe you just don't have the genetics as great as someone else. There are so many factors that go into how fast someone achieves a result. But the uncomfortable truth about it is you might have to put in more work than someone else. You can feel bad about that. You can complain about that. You can claim that's unfair and you're not wrong. But that doesn't change the fact that if you want that result, that's what you're going to have to do. Again, all of these truths are super annoying to acknowledge. It's not a great feeling to understand that you might just have to work harder than someone else, and you might have to put more reps, and you might have to take longer. You might have to eat way less calories than someone else to achieve the same goal because you just have the body genetic makeup for it. And this is not one of those things that sells very well. You might have to work twice as hard as her for the same result. Nobody wants to hear that, but it is a reality, and unfortunately it happens, and you have to accept that. And if you fall into the category of the people that have to work harder, it's easier said than done. But don't take that as a discouragement to not try because, oh, well, I have to work incredibly hard for the same thing. It's not even worth doing. Take it as, when I achieve this goal, I'm going to have put way more hours and way more effort into this than anyone else, and it's going to feel that much more meaningful to have achieved it. Like, I know that I worked twice as hard as you to get it, and I got it. Don't tell anybody this, but for yourself, for your own comfort. Alright, I'm gonna stop stabbing you guys with bad news now, even though there's a lot of uncomfortable truths about this. I think that there's a lot of talking only about the positives about it, and I think that's great. And of course, you guys, there's a million and more benefits to this than what I just talked about. But at the same time, like, you have to know what you're getting yourself into. You have to know what to expect, and you have to be okay with the fact that it's not always going to feel great, and it's not always going to be easy, and it's going to take a long time to achieve this. And I hope that these uncomfortable truths shed some light into that, and maybe you're struggling and you feel a little bit more normal now that you know that these things are experienced by most people and you don't feel like such a failure or something's wrong with you. It happens to everybody. I just thought you should know these things because I wish I knew most of these things when I started, and I didn't. I had to learn it the hard way. That's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know which one of these resonated with you the most. Let me know if you have any questions. If you have any video suggestions, please leave them down below. So yeah, that'll be it. I will catch you guys in the next video. Magali. That was dumb. Out. Alright, bye guys.